Welcome to the Carl Ladding Show. My name is Carl Ladding, the lifestyle architect. My mission for you and I is to help us build the lives that you and I want to live the most. So thank you for clicking in today. I have a great show planned for you. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell for notifications for any time that we come on live. So I like to kick off each show with a success quote. And today's success quote is coming from none other than the World War II Prime Minister of Great Britain, the late, great Winston Churchill. And when Britain, his nation, was under attack from Adolf Hitler during World War II, he had this quote that he mentioned or said to the nation to encourage them. He said that success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. Let me say it again. Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. And so let's unpack that quote a little bit, because I think it's very apropos, especially these days. There's just no doubt that there's a dearth of the courage to continue to persevere towards success or towards the goal achievement that people may have in their lives. It's like we kind of have this ADD where we just jump around from one thing to the next, where we see the next new shiny thing. They tell us you can make some money at it. And so you say, okay, let me give it a try. And as soon as the difficulty hits, you say, oh, that's not for me. And, I think what it is that there's so many technological advances that are hitting us in rapid succession. And so they've allowed us to do things or accomplish certain mundane tasks without much effort. And so, when a situation arises that requires us to dig a little bit deeper, or at least deeper than we anticipated digging to be able to get the thing done or accomplished, most people end up quitting or giving up. And then when we give up, we tend to make these excuses for why we quit, just to rationalize the fact that, we once again have not followed through, or we have given up yet again on an endeavor that we told everyone before we started, and when we first began it, it was important and that it was going to be successful. But now we have these reasons or excuses that we give to ourselves to make ourselves feel comfortable with not following through towards that goal. And so it takes a special kind of courage to continue beating on your craft and working and studying and learning to be able to become what you need to become in order to achieve whatever that goal might be. And so we seldom witness the hours and hours in training that a person puts into their craft, someone who's mastered their craft, or to reach this level of mastery. If you think about anybody who you would pay to see, let's put it this way. Imagine you were going to see your son or daughter or a niece or nephew play Little League ball or AAU. How much would you pay to see them? $3, $5, something like that? Not a problem. But what if you're going to watch a high school team play? What would you pay? $10, maybe 15. I don't know what they charge these days. But if you were going to watch a college team play, you're prepared to pay a little bit more. 25, 35, 45 bucks, what have you. But if you go to watch the pros play, NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, you're probably looking at 10x, about $200 by the end of the night if there are two or more people who are going with you to see this event. The question is, why are you comfortable paying that kind of money for the pros? And the answer is just that. They are pros. They are professionals. They have put in the hours and hours of time that was required for them to get to a level of mastery that when people see them perform, people are impressed and or entertained, because it takes them out of their own lives and it makes them believe that things are possible when they see people create and do great feats on the field or on the court, or when you watch a certain singer or actor on stage who's able to perform in such a way it's kind of mesmerizing. As you walk away, you're thinking, wow, that performance was so good. But what we never tend to pay attention to or think about is the hours and hours of time they put in, or maybe even the years, to become that good at what they do. And so, we have to think about people like Churchill when he talks about, the courage that it takes to continue, that we need to ensure that we continue to put in work. You have to basically be willing to exercise faith in yourself, because when you begin the endeavor or begin moving towards the goal, there is that excitement that comes from it being new and you learning new things. But then there is the humdrum that comes after that of needing to continue to show up at the same time every day and continue to put in maximum effort with some of the same drills that are necessary to do over and over and over again until you reach a level of proficiency. And so sometimes after doing that for a week or doing that after a month, you begin to get bored, or if you don't see results or the money's not coming in from the thing or the organization, excuse me, or the money-making endeavor that you chose to be a part of, people, like I said, they look to quit or to stop. And so we have to have a vision of what the end will be. You have to basically have faith in who you are or what that vision is going to be at the end, if you are going to come back into your present and continue to practice and perform at the level that you need to in practice to get good enough so that one day you can perform on the big stage. And so if you look at the beginning of this quote, it's interesting because he says that success is not final. That's an interesting piece for us to unpack because it's been said sometimes that your last victory sometimes is going to be your greatest obstacle to future success. Why is that? Have you ever met anybody who's still living off old accomplishments, the things that they accomplished in high school, or they say back in the day, I used to have, or I used to do, or I used to look like, et cetera, et cetera. We should be mindful that it's one thing to obtain, then it's another thing to maintain or progress. And so many young people today, they're experiencing something called FOMO, which is an acronym for the fear of missing out. And this is caused by them comparing themselves to what they see on social media. They see these influencers who have the cars, the houses, the clothes. They take these expensive vacations. However, if they check back on those same influencers 5 years down the line, I wonder if those influencers will still have the cars, the clothes, and be taking these expensive vacations, because it's one thing to obtain, it's another thing to maintain. If you think about the fact that it takes a lot to stay on top, right? Tony Robbins talks about something called the CANI principle. It's an acronym, CANI, which stands for constant and never-ending improvement. Because some of these people, they may gain a little bit of notoriety, and even if they do and they've struck lightning for the moment, there's no guarantee that they're going to stay on top. As a matter of fact, the guarantee is that you're going to fall off as people get used to you or bored with you, or as the trend changes, or if you're not putting in the constant and never-ending improvement for you to continue to get better or to morph and change as is required to continue to stay on top of your game, whatever that game may be. Because it's one thing to obtain, it's another thing to maintain. Just look at the current statistics in our society. The divorce rate is 50%. We say that all the time. It might be even higher now. Why is the divorce rate so high? Because to get the wife, it was one thing. To keep her is another. It's one thing to obtain. It's another thing to maintain. So let's be mindful to keep putting in the work at a minimum to maintain the spot that we got. You know, the second clause of his quote says that failure is not fatal. And so I've wondered many times watching a championship game about the team that lost. So these two teams, they've played an entire season. They've gone through the playoffs and they've vanquished all of their competitors, and now they've met in the championship game. And I wondered many times, is it better for the losing team if they never got there, or to get there and to lose? So the logic is this, that there's absolutely no way to win if you don't go and actually play to win in that championship game, or to get there. But whether you're good enough to win is going to be borne out in that contest on the field or on the court. But for me, it's still worth it, or worth the ride, just to find out where I stand, win, lose, or draw. And so, as I said, it's important that we're willing to put ourselves in the position of the vulnerability that comes along with striving for success, because we live in a time where we have so many people who are sniping and chiping from the sidelines, where they have reaction videos, and I do those too, but the reactions that they tend to have are usually so critical, when at the same time, they're criticizing somebody who's in the game. Whether that person in the game wins or loses, they're in the game, versus the people who are on the sideline sniping. And so you should think about this when it comes to the courage to continue. So, as I said, we have a great show today, and we're already cooking. Today, what I want to do here with our show, I want to pick up where we left off in our last show, our last live. And our topic that day was to bring on the problems. And so just a short recap of that show. We basically, we wanted to move our minds from avoiding problems and avoiding challenges and avoiding the barriers that crop up when it's time for us to achieve or to move in the direction of achievement. We even said that instead of just thanking God for the days where there are no problems, we should begin to thank God for the problems. Why? Because it's in the problem that we learn who we really are. We learn if we really believe what we say we believe. Do you believe that you're successful or that you can be? Well, here comes the problem. You have to prove it to yourself. Not only proving it to other people, but mainly proving it to yourself. Because problems, we know they're a large part of life, and the way that we handle them, it signifies whether we're making progress or even growing as a person. Because when I think about myself, there was a time when the problems caused me to fight and squirm and pout and go into the woe is me state of mind. But now the mindset is more like when you've been working towards a goal, maybe in the gym, and tomorrow might be the day that you're attempting that personal best or that PR, that personal record. And maybe you're going to accomplish it and maybe you won't. Yet, at the same time, you have to go in and test it and see whether or not the work that you've been putting in for the past week or 2 weeks or months is going to pay off. And so our problems in our lives outside of the gym, they function in much of the same way. They come in to test to see if we're ready for the things that we say that we want out of life. You say that you want the promotion, but are you able to handle the issues and the stress that comes along with that promotion? You say that you want to lead people, but some people don't even find out that they don't like people until they get into the position. And so the problems, they come and they test to show us whether or not we're ready or whether or not we really want this thing that we say that we want. And so one of the best mindset hacks that I've thought of that goes along with this is when it comes to performing well, especially when you're in the throes of a problem, is for you to begin to see yourself as complete. And what I mean by complete, take a moment and think of yourself. We'll just say, I don't know how old you are, wherever you are, but let's imagine that you're 80 years old, that you're thinking or imagining yourself when you are 80 and you're retired and you're living where you want to live and spending the day that you want to spend the way that you choose with the people you love, that you have the financial resources and the physical fitness that you imagine yourself positioning at that time, your goals accomplished, and in your mind, everything is checkmate. And you've accomplished everything that you set out to do from today until then. In a way, you could see yourself as complete, right? And so ask yourself, what does that look like for you? And you can take the time to think about that, write that down. What will that day and feeling be like for you at that time if all those things are in place, that you're complete? And so I imagine that it's different for us all, but whatever that vision may be, I want you then from that place to work backwards from there to where you currently are. And as you trek backwards from that place, you should ask yourself, what are the action items? Right? The short-term steps that I accomplished along the way. Because we're just imagining the end, but I want you to fill in the blanks as you move backwards. What did you have to do? What did you have to go through? What did you have to invest in? Where did you have to move? Who did you have to meet? How did you stretch yourself or push yourself? What did it take to get to that place? And work yourself backwards from there to where you are. And then you're going to need to jot that down, right? So that once you jot those things down, we're not saying it's going to play out that same way, but then you're going to be ready to actionize in your mind to perform the steps that made that vision come to pass. And so that vision of yourself as complete. And so by no means am I saying that this is a prescriptive method for goal setting or success achievement. You know, do what works for you. But I'm just sharing it here because that's what I'm doing right now, and it's working for me, right? So whatever you do, though, you need to do something, because this show here is for people who may not know what direction they want to move in, but you know that you need to move. You are one of those people who can just feel on the inside that there's something that's telling you that you're better than what you have. You're better than where you are. You're better than the way that you have been treating yourself. You have to think about choosing a direction right now and begin to move that way. And the reason why that's important is because doing nothing guarantees that you'll get nothing. It's good to just choose a direction and move that way, because if you realize without a shadow of a doubt that it is not what you enjoy, that is not for you, at least now you do know something. You know which way not to go. And so, let's take a look here at a video from somebody who I really like and enjoy. I am in agreement with probably 90% of what he says. This is a guy named Wes Watson. Let's take a look or listen to what Wes Watson has to say, and we'll unpack what he has to say after the video. Let's take a listen here.
Be like, well, how do I make money like you? I'm like, how could you? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you suck. Yes. And they're like, what do you mean I suck? You barely know me. I'm like, I'm looking at you. You fucking suck. I'm looking at you right now, motherfucker. How you look, how you're put together. You are not proud of you. There's no way you could be. I know God's calling you from within to look different, feel different, act different, and be different. And you're choosing not to. Yep. You're just going, fuck you. I'm not going to listen. But bless me when I cry like a bitch. We don't fucking do that. I live in a constant conversation with God, and I'm just like, what do you want me to do next? What do you want me to do next? I'm like, oh, I'm kind of afraid of that one. He's like, don't be, go, you know, and I just go. Yes. It's so powerful, bro. Everybody's so afraid of what? To lose what? Yeah. Like, you don't even like what you have. Why would it be a loss, you know?
Absolutely.
I hear you, Wes. Hey, is that a word or what? Forgive the language. That's his style, not mine. Nevertheless, the point is still made. Is you don't have anything to lose if you're not doing anything. And if you're not careful, you begin to retreat into this mindset that is not only self-condemnatory, where you're putting yourself down and not loving yourself, but you begin to snipe at others. You become critical of other people. When people are hating and criticizing other people, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that you have too much time. You don't have any business of your own, so you're focusing on and criticizing the business of others. That's why you need to get your purpose lined up and worked out. That's why you need to choose a direction and move in that direction and see what it's going to take for you to become the one who's on top when everybody's looking at you on top of the mountain. And what's going to happen when you're there? Then they're going to snipe at you. They're going to have things to say about you. So be it. You can say what you want to say about me when I'm on top. The crazy thing is when we begin to go back and forth with people. Somebody says, oh, well, you think you're all that and you only have this, or his car is not all that. And then you begin to reply and retort and debate, where this is basically the blind leading the blind. The better thing to do is shut your mouth, put your head down and work. And then when you're on top, everybody will know. There won't be any discussion, and everybody who's hating will have to acknowledge that, yeah, I'm hating, but it's clear that he's doing better than I am. I want to encourage you today, because part of what this show is designed to do is not only help you, but to help me. I'm marking my journey and documenting basically through the show. I want week after week to be able to come back and testify to you, as well as hear the testimonies from you of the wins and the successes that we have week to week. And the biggest part of our ability to be able to win comes down to just the simple things. Are we holding ourselves accountable to the way that we should behave, the discipline that we should exhibit, the task that we have to complete in a week that gets us, number one, out of the hole? Many of us, we're in the hole. What do I mean by in the hole? Well, there's things that need to be fixed around the house, things that need to be cleaned up, debts that need to be paid, relationships with people who are your loved ones that need to be mended, just to be able to get back to square one, to even, to zero. From there, we begin to invest in ourselves, the skills, the education, learning a craft and beginning to get good at it, then to market it and share how much better we're getting at that thing week to week, until the point that we can now be compensated for the thing that we're good at. One of the things I've been doing for the last 25 years is professional development. And so now what I realized in the last 2 or 3 years is that there is no professional development without personal development. And so when I connect the personal development with the professional development, that's where we get lifestyle development. And that's why I call myself the lifestyle architect. Because the thing that I will be great at is helping people to design and etch out the blueprint for the life that they want to live, share with them the materials that need to be utilized to erect that design, and then be able to help them get it approved. And what do I mean by approved? To the point where you're willing to put your stamp of approval on it, saying, yes, this is good. And so on the title of the show, I have this thing that says you are complete. So that completeness, like I said, is when you get to your 80-year-old self and you look back at yourself or your life and you say, yeah, we've accomplished it all. It is here. We've done it, and I am satisfied. But there's another way to look at completeness as well. The word education comes from a Latin word, educo, And what it means is to draw out. Many of us have this mindset of education or learning is that we're putting something in. But Aristotle said that we don't learn anything. We just pull out of us what we already know, which is why when you do read or when you do learn something, there's something in you that resonates that says, yes, this is correct. Yes, this is it, because it was already in there. It's just witnessing with the thing that you are reading or listening to or watching that says that, bang, this is a truth. And so what I mean, once again, if we add on to this completeness thing, what if you were born with everything you need? Let that sink in. The body you have, whether you have 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 arms, 2 legs, or that you're missing some of them. Whatever the body is that you have, I call that your earth suit. And it's the suit that you use, that you were given to execute and perform whatever it is that you were created to do. What if everything you need to know is in you? It just needs to be drawn out. And the way that we draw it out is through reading, is through attending classes and workshops and listening to podcasts and meeting the right people or sitting before teachers and masters and maybe being an apprentice to someone so that they can draw out of us what was already there. What if you are the argumentative type or the anxious type and you're looking for some way to be able to get yourself into this place of homeostasis or equilibrium? What if the answer is in you to be able to relax and have faith that everything will be all right? I'm of the mindset that we are complete. As I told you in the first show, look, I'm a Christian. And if you're a Christian, you don't have an excuse, because the Bible said in the book of Colossians that all of the fullness of the Godhead dwelt in Christ bodily. And the second clause said, and you are complete in him. And so if we're complete, we're not working towards victory. We're working from victory. We're working and walking out what is already in us. That should be heartening. That should be encouraging. That should give you a sense of power that not can I do this, or if I get myself to a certain point I can obtain. What if you already got it? And it's just about peeling the layers of distraction off that were placed on us by the world as we lived in this crazy place. One writer said that we're all geniuses or born geniuses. It's just living this life year after year that makes us get distracted from who and what we really are. I'm encouraging you today, this morning, as you get ready to go out on your day, whatever it is that you have to accomplish. You are complete. You have everything you need. Just figure out a way to bring it out. In our next show, we'll discuss that piece of it, the mindset piece, to know who you are and to put in the work and the effort to bring it out. Trust me, you're worth it. I'm worth it. I'll see you guys on top. Hey, this is Carl Ladding, your lifestyle architect. I'll catch you guys in the next show. Be blessed.